Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael, and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Bantar in the Cheating Stories subreddit. The post is titled, "Caught my wife cheating on me and I know exactly when it started. I caught my wife with another person in our bed and I kicked him out of my house. Oh boy, this is long. I and my soon-to-be ex-wife have been married for 11 years. We were a pretty chubby couple until 2 years ago when I had a blood test and found out I was prone to developing diabetes, gout, and hypertension. It really scared me, and we both gradually started to live a much healthier life. I went from 117 to 85 kilograms, and my wife, let's call her Jane, from 83 to 65 kilograms. We felt great, and needless to say, I never developed those diseases. We attended a gym almost daily in the afternoon where another person worked as a coach. Let's call him Baldy. When my wife started getting in shape, I noticed that most guys turned to look at her. I felt so proud of her. She is fairly busty and she has magnificent legs. Of course, Baldy wasn't the exception. I noticed Baldy likes to check out women's butts. I've seen him do it several times and he likes to show off how muscular he is. When Jane and I were regulars at the gym, I noticed she was enjoying the attention she got from men. Once, we were using the elliptical machines, and in front of them was a cable machine. Baldy took off his t-shirt and started doing crossovers. I turned to Jane with a look that said, "Can you believe this guy?" But she was staring at him and wet her lips. I saw Baldy and I swear he was grinning. I felt crushed. I mean, I was getting in shape, but I am not as muscular and fit as he is. When we were driving home, I made a comment about Baldy showing off and Jane said, "Really? I didn't notice." I told her, "You were staring." She said, "I don't remember. I must have been thinking about something else." I shrugged it off and kept driving, but from then on, I noticed that they were talking more frequently at the gym. Some weeks later, Jane was doing squats using the Smith machine. Suddenly, Baldy went to help her. He was grabbing her by the waist and I got angry. She finished the first set and I went over and told him, not very nicely, "I got it from here." Baldy just smiled and told me, "No problem, buddy," and walked off. Jane knows me very well, and when she heard my angry tone, she said, "My God, OP." I told her, "We'll discuss this at home." At home, drama blew up. She called me immature and jealous. I told her I noticed he was trying to get into her pants. She said she knew that, but she would never cheat on me. I asked why she let him touch her, and she said she didn't want to be rude. After about an hour of arguing, we agreed to change gyms. So we went to another place to exercise, but Jane was resentful toward me in the following months. Her argument was that I don't trust her. On the third month after we changed gyms, a very good opportunity opened up at my job, but in the afternoon. We discussed it and I took it, so we had to attend the gym at different hours. I went in the morning and Jane in the afternoon. This is when it all went south. Jane's resentment increased and we barely spoke. I sent her messages telling her about my day, that I missed her, and memes. But she rarely replied or just said, "Yes, okay, same here, ha ha ha." I was very worried and proposed couples therapy. She said I was the one who needed therapy because I had trust issues. I agreed. I was so desperate to fix our marriage that I even thought it was all my fault. So the following year, 2022, I went to therapy, but Jane's behavior didn't change. We weren't intimate anymore. She was never in the mood. I snooped on her phone but didn't find anything out of the ordinary. I looked in her car for a second phone. Nothing. I checked her phone again to see her map history. It only showed house, workhouse, gym house. Whenever I tried to talk to her, she just said she felt she was having a midlife crisis. She said it would pass. I never had any evidence of cheating, so I continued working and worrying. We live in a condo. The security guard, a very cheerful man called Mr. P, greeted me. We chat a lot. He was touching his shoulder and told me that yesterday he had to move a heavy sofa and had some pain today. I was sympathetic and then he dropped the bomb. "Maybe you can arrange a meeting with your massage therapist." I told him, "Who?" He said, "The guy who came yesterday to massage Mrs. Jane." It took me a second to process this. I asked him, "Do you have a video of him?" I think he noticed I was pale and hurried to show me. Guess who? Baldy, of course. He has come a few times to massage my wife. I took the day off and started investigating. I asked a coworker for his car, and in the afternoon I followed Jane. She parked her car at the mall where the gym is, and there was Baldy waiting for her. They giggled and behaved like a couple kisses, hugs, and I felt close to tears. They walked a couple of blocks and went into a residential area. I tried to follow them with my phone, ready to record, but the guard stopped me and asked, "Can I help you?" I just said, "What a nice couple. Do you know them?" He said he thought they were newlyweds, but couldn't tell me anything else. I called Jane, but she never answered. I went to her car in the mall and wondered why that place didn't show on the map. I dialed again and I could hear her phone inside her car. That's why. I also found out Jane hadn't attended the gym in 8 months. I didn't know that the previous night was the last day I slept with Jane in the same bed. I returned the car and went home and called my parents. Fortunately, my dad answered and I told him everything. I was crying and he comforted me and told me to get evidence. Obviously, my marriage is over and I need all I can gather while he'll contact one of his friends who is an excellent divorce lawyer. Jane called me when she saw the 2 missed calls. I just told her I was already at home and she told me I'm on my way from the gym. My butt is killing me. When she saw me, she asked, "What happened? Why did you cry?" I don't know how, but I was mentally focused. I smiled and told her I got the flu. That's why I left work early. "Don't come near me, it might be the bug. I'll be tested tomorrow. I'll sleep in the spare room." She agreed. I cried silently and I didn't sleep a wink. Nearly midnight I heard her giggling. I guess she's messaging Baldy, but I didn't find any evidence of her contacting another man. Then it hit me, why didn't I see it earlier? I bet another person is disguised as one of her female co-workers. In the morning, while Jane was in the shower, I took her phone and created a session on my laptop and put her phone back in the same place. The session works while the phone is close to my laptop or on the same Wi-Fi network. Then I saw it. Under a female name, the profile picture was a dumbbell. I entered and most of the conversations were deleted. I guess they use work words as code in case I snooped. "Can you deliver the papers to my desk?" I know she doesn't have a desk at work. "Going to the meeting, where are you?" At the top of them, "Boss is in his office, he's clueless." Jane got out of the shower and saw me. "You look worse, why don't you stay with your parents?" I denied the idea, thinking of getting evidence. After Jane went out, I contacted my dad and he gave me the name and number of the lawyer. I called him and explained everything. He told me the screenshots I took from my laptop are useless. They don't have any factual evidence since it's not another person's name. And she was smart enough to leave pieces of conversation that look pretty innocent. I could take pictures of them at the mall, but she could argue they are just good friends and I can't go into the residential area without permission because it might get me into more trouble. At work, I was in zombie mode, thinking about how to get evidence. I might install secret cameras in my house, but Baldy rarely goes to my home, and Jane might find them, unless I'm out of the picture. I texted Jane and told her I tested positive for the bug and would stay at my parents' because I might need help. She liked the idea and told me she would miss me but would call me every day. When I hung up, I called my dad and my brother. When I got home, she had already packed a suitcase for me. She was so eager to get rid of me. I told her I'd take my laptop and then I checked her messages. "Boss will be out of the office, want to come to my desk?" She sent this message almost right after I told her I tested positive for the bug. Good, she took the bait. We didn't have dinner, no kisses, no hugs. I noticed her checking her watch twice. From the door, I told her, "I'll miss you." I was expecting her to shut the door in my face, but she walked me to my car, and I was gone. My dad and brother were outside the building waiting for Baldy to appear, but he didn't show up. After half an hour, I thought, why did she walk me to my car? Of course, because Baldy was already inside the building, perhaps waiting inside her car. It would be very suspicious if her massage therapist came at this hour. I came back, hurried to my house, and entered silently. I heard music coming from the bedroom and moaning. Next to the door, there is a sofa. His and her clothes were on it. I put my phone to record and opened the bedroom door, and there she was. My wife, the love of my life for 11 years, on all fours, and Baldy behind her. I got a very good few seconds of both of their faces when they saw me open the door. Jane screamed and covered herself with the blanket. Baldy went into alpha male mode immediately, walking naked toward me. He yelled aggressively at me, "Why don't you go for a walk, buddy?" I hit his throat with my open hand. I saw this movement in the Mel Gibson movie Ransom. The next second, Baldy was coughing and gasping, kneeling on the floor. I yelled, "Get out of my house," and kicked him out. I threw his clothes at him when my dad, brother, and Mr. P were arriving at my house. I told them, "I'll take it from here," and closed the door. Jane was still on the bed, covering herself. She was trembling. I told her, "I have never hurt you, nor will I. Get dressed. I'll wait for you in the living room." While I was waiting, I sent the video to my lawyer and he answered, "I'm sorry for you, but jackpot." A few minutes later, Jane showed up. She couldn't look me in the eyes. I started recording the conversation. I asked, "Why?" She didn't answer. "Was I such an awful husband to you?" She started crying but didn't answer. "Do you love him?" She shook her head but said nothing. I stood up and hit the table. "Say something, Jane." Damn it, she opened her eyes wide and started trembling again, like a puppy when it's scared. I have never yelled at her before. I sat and talked calmly. "My lawyer will contact you for the divorce. Get a lawyer." She finally spoke. "We can fix this." "Fix what?" "Our marriage was over since Baldy was in the picture, and you chose him over me. It was a mistake." "No, it wasn't. It was a choice. You chose, and this is the consequence. What did you think would happen when I found out?" Silence again. "Go to your sister's and tell her the truth, or I will show her the video." She went to the bedroom and started packing. I followed her and watched. Since 2 days ago, I was trying to convince myself my wife was long gone. The person I shared my house with is not my wife, but seeing her, putting her clothes inside the suitcase neatly, with her graceful movements and those little things I love about her, hit me hard. I went to the spare room and started ugly crying. I heard when she closed the main door. She picked up her clothes that were on the sofa. She made the bed where I caught them and I dropped on the floor. Much later, I called my dad. He told me Baldy wanted to press charges, but Mr. P told him he didn't sign in, so he's trespassing. The condo can sue him. He dropped it and left. My nosy brother pressed his ear on the door, and my dad took him by the ear to his car. I was exhausted. The previous days, I hadn't slept well, so I almost passed out in the spare room. The next morning, my phone had a lot of Jane's messages apologizing and asking for a second chance. I just blocked her. My sister-in-law called me. Apparently, Jane hasn't told her what happened, just that we're fighting. I guess it's good my father-in-law is not alive to see Jane's behavior. She was the youngest and his favorite. My mother-in-law has senile dementia. All this happened a week ago. Next week, Jane is going to be served. Update. I'm back with a juicy update. You'll enjoy this as much as I do. I'd like to cover some points before starting the update. First, I want to thank everybody who contacted me and gave me advice, congratulated me, or just let me know they care. I've read from other posts that the support you get is mind-blowing, but it's the first time I've experienced so much care from strangers. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. Second, as you can guess, English is my second language, so I messed up some sentences and confused prepositions. Sorry about that. Also, I wrongly said Jane was doing sit-ups. She was actually doing squats. Third, to those who think my story is fake, you are entitled to think whatever you want. I just hope my testimony helps someone in the future as much as others have helped me. Fourth, about how I hit the other person. It was not a fancy ninja punch, just a chop to the throat. Frankly, I was lucky I reacted before Baldy did. I won't lie, seeing him on the floor coughing felt great. Fifth, some readers found a post I made in Ask and Ask Reddit a month before Discovery Day. It never got posted because I didn't understand the rules of the community, and today it isn't important anymore. A quick summary. Jane and I were trying to be parents for 10 years. In the 8th year, we saved enough money to buy 3 opportunities at the most expensive and successful reproduction clinic in my country. All 3 failed, and Jane started her affair during the 3rd attempt. That's the clinic where my blood was tested, and considering my family's history of diseases, they gave me the probabilities of developing diabetes, gout, hypertension, and having strokes. I should thank them. Someone mentioned that Jane intentionally aborted in the 3rd attempt because it might be the other person's baby. Well, that's not possible because for her, it's almost impossible to conceive naturally. The embryos were fertilized in vitro and then implanted directly in her womb. I tried to repost my question, but she came and told me, I don't want to have kids anymore, so I dropped it. I am sure Baldy doesn't have anything to do with her decision. This is important for later. Let's continue with the update. It's been 12 days since Discovery Day. What have I been doing since then? Day 1. I had a nice chat with Mr. P. He confessed he faked his shoulder pain. He just wanted to warn me about Baldy. He also told me a very nosy neighbor saw when I kicked Baldy naked from my apartment, so surely in a week the whole condo will know my situation. My brother came to help me change the lock on the door. When he left, I felt so alone and cried a lot. I called my job to ask for a day off. At night, I spoke to my lawyer. He said he was preparing the divorce papers but couldn't start until he had the evidence. So my divorce will be divorce by mutual consent, which is smoother than uncaused divorce, which is longer and pretty nasty. He also told me not to share the video. Jane will be served in 2 weeks. My sister-in-law called me, but I told her to ask Jane why we're divorcing. Day 2. My sister-in-law came and I showed her the video. I drove her home and saw Jane's car. When I got home, I still felt crushed and cried some more. Day 3, I visited my parents. My mom cried with me. She really loved Jane. My dad had a chat with me about my money, properties, and other matters. When I returned home, Mr. P told me Jane and Baldy showed up. I guess they are going to make their relationship public now that the cat is out of the bag. But strangely, they came at different times. Jane came in the morning, parked her car, and saw mine wasn't there. She tried to enter my house, but her key doesn't work anymore. Then she asked Mr. P if he knew where I went. He didn't know and told her, "Mr. OP gave me this for you," handing her my attorney's card. She kept it and left. Baldy came in the afternoon and first asked to see Jane. Mr. P told him, "Mrs. Jane doesn't live here anymore." Then he asked to see me and Mr. P told him, "Mr. OP is away, no idea when he'll return," and he left. I guess they both are not in contact yet. I wanted to ask about Jane. Is she sad? Did she look healthy? Did she ask about my well-being? But then I remembered a Discovery Day and just thanked and said goodnight to Mr. P. When I got home, I cried a lot again. Day 4. I didn't want to, but something I learned from all of you champions is to hit the gym hard. So I looked for a new gym near my job and had a good session. I felt pretty good. Then I returned to work. At home, I didn't cry this time and started taking out all of Jane's pictures. Day 5. I had a meeting with my lawyer to review my assets. Fortunately, my dad made Jane sign a prenuptial agreement, so she can't touch anything I had before we got married. All remaining stuff gets divided 50-50 and I can get compensation for her adultery. As compensation, I'm going to forego alimony. I could fight for all the stuff, but everything reminds me of her and I want to start anew. When I left home, I heard whispers. I turned my head and saw 2 neighbors who immediately pretended they didn't see me. They walked in front of me and greeted me. I knew this would happen. After that, I went to the gym and work. Day 6. Nothing interesting happened. I only have Facebook as social media. I ignore all messages asking me to contact Jane. I closed it and opened Reddit and had a nice time reading about all of you champions who have overcome what I've been experiencing. I felt better, so I thought of sharing my own experience. Day 7. I started writing. I posted it before going to the gym. When I was at work, it amazed me how many people were reacting to my story. I answered some comments. Day 8. I was reading comments and answering all morning. I was smiling. It feels good to be appreciated. 2 comments stuck in my mind that I hadn't thought about. 1, report the other person to my old gym, and 2, my home is tainted. I need a fresh start. So before I went to the gym, I looked for real estate agents to sell or rent my house. I'm not comfortable here anymore. I haven't entered my bedroom since Discovery Day. I've been sleeping in the spare room. I don't want to live like this. Day 9, since Jane would come and bother me, I decided to spend the day outside. She did come, then she visited my parents and brother. They just texted me, "Jane came." I answered, "Thank you. I don't want to talk about her yet." Day 10, I spent the day with my parents. We visited a town 2 hours from the city and had a blast. I don't know if Jane came. My dad told me not to sell my house, but to rent it. I agree and went home. When I got home, Mr. P told me Baldy came in the afternoon and was alone again. He asked for me, but Mr. P told him I'm away. He left without a word. Day 11. Yesterday morning, I went to my old gym. I was not sure if I'd meet Baldy. He worked in the afternoon, but he was with my wife in the afternoon, so I thought he might have changed his shift. He was nowhere to be found. I asked to talk to Frank, the gym owner. While I was waiting for him, I met an old janitor I used to chat with. He told me to say hi to Miss Jane. I guess my new normal is to tell everybody we split up. I smiled at him. Frank finally received me. I asked about Baldy and he told me Monday is his day off. He asked for more hours and now works from Tuesday to Sunday in the morning. Then I explained the reason for my visit. He listened carefully until I finished and finally showed him the video. He stayed silent and thoughtful. He said, "You're not going to like this." I just thought, what now? Frank called the receptionist to bring in Harry, another coach, and Baldy's friend. He has a big beard. Frank asked him to tell me about Baldy's girlfriend. According to Harry, Baldy is head over heels for Jane, and Frank confirmed it. He told me Baldy had many complaints, especially from female members, but for the last few months, he has changed. No complaints, and he's very professional with all members. And Harry told me something that made my jaw drop. Baldy is trying to marry Jane by trapping her with a baby. I was processing this information when I felt something starting from my chest, climbing up my throat, and finally exploding in my mouth. I laughed. I swear I was laughing like the Joker. I even teared up a bit. Frank and Harry were very confused. I thought, oh, sweet karma, thank you. After I calmed down, but with a big grin on my face, Harry asked what was going on, and Frank explained, "This is Baldy's girlfriend's husband." Harry looked shocked. "Oh man, this is bad. This is really messed up." Harry left. Next, we discussed firing Baldy. Frank said he has to report the situation to the coach association, and he will surely have to fire him because Jane was a gym member, or Frank's gym could have legal repercussions. About his license as a coach, I need to make a legal document explaining Baldy is the reason for my divorce, the key number of my divorce case, and the video. My attorney will give the video to the coach association's attorney. I can't share it. Baldy will lose his license from that association, but he can go to another association and apply for another license. It would take months though. I asked if Baldy can appeal. Frank said he might, but it would be a waste of energy. The association does not tolerate such conduct. Also, he doesn't have the money to pay for someone to represent him. That reminded me of the residential area where he entered with Jane. I thought Baldy was wealthy. Frank brought his face closer to me and asked, "What residential area?" I showed him on the Maps app. "You followed them to this place?" "I did on the day before Discovery Day." Frank got angry. "That's where my late father's house is." After Frank's father passed away, he inherited the house. All the equipment that's obsolete or needs repair goes to that house. He lent Baldy the key to go and keep some stuff occasionally, but he does not have permission to stay there. He surely has a copy of the key and might be living there illegally. He's going to investigate this further. It will be easy since there are tons of cameras in that place. I was leaving the gym when I heard, "Mr. OP, Mr. OP, wait." It was Harry. He told me he was sorry about what was happening. Baldy never told him who his girlfriend was. He just said that he met her at a certain mall. I thanked him and took a step toward the exit. He rushed, "Can you tell me what happened?" I told him, "Pretty much what you heard. He was with my wife and now I'm divorcing her." Another step. What will happen to Baldy? That depends on Frank and the coach association. I tried to take another step. But how are you handling it? Okay, now this is strange. I stared at Harry and remembered Baldy went to my house twice. I said, "You called Baldy and he's on his way here, right? You're just buying time. Am I wrong?" He made a guilty face. "Please, Mr. OP, talk to him. He's really desperate. He was crying yesterday. His girlfriend, I mean your wife, isn't returning his calls." "Tell me, why should I care if he's rotting in hell? I'll be here with you so you don't have to be scared." I laughed. "Scared of that weakling? He didn't tell you I kicked him out of my house naked, right?" Harry didn't believe me. "Fine, let's see what he wants." I saw there are cameras where we were talking and sat in front of a table in the reception area. I don't think Baldy is stupid enough to attack me, but who knows. Besides, I'm really curious about what he wants. He came running 10 minutes later and saw me waiting for him. He extended his hand. I crossed my arms and left him with his hand hanging. "What the hell do you want?" I looked angrily directly into his eyes. He sat in front of me. "Listen, buddy. Stop right there. We're not buddies. Mr. S, the janitor is my buddy. You are not." He seemed apologetic. "Okay, my bad. I want to say I'm sorry for everything. I never wanted to hurt you, and I really care about Jane." "Well, you just said 3 lies to my face. You are not sorry. You did mean to destroy my life, and you just care about yourself." He changed from apologetic to annoyed. Okay, whatever man, just tell me where Jane is. Last time I saw her was when I kicked her cheating ass out of my house after I kicked you out naked. I know Harry was listening. Baldy's face turned red. That was a cheap shot. I should sue you. As far as I know, you entered my home illegally, and perhaps you were assaulting my wife. I have videos of you leaving, but you didn't sign in. He changed again. Okay, I'm sorry. Tell me what you want from me. Please tell Jane I need to speak to her. At that moment, Frank came in a rush. I guess he saw through the cameras that Baldy showed up. Everything okay here? Everything is fine, Frank. I was just telling this guy what I want. I stood up and talked close to Baldy's face. What I want is what is coming for you, what you deserve, what the law has prepared for you. I want to crush your dreams just like you did with mine. You want kids? Guess what? You won't and you never will. Baldy said, "What's that supposed to?" But Frank asked him to see him in his office. Harry looked impressed. He grabbed Baldy's arm and pulled him. "Dude, you're in deep trouble." I finally left. Day 12. I feel I am ready to face Jane now. I'm still grinning while I type this. So, how have you been? Radar 1031 said, "Stay strong, my man, and be prepared for the biggest bunch of nonsense to be thrown at you over the next few weeks. She will say she is so sorry, that she only loves you, that she does not know what she was thinking. All the usual excuses. This is so much worse than a run-of-the-mill affair because she found it amusing to use secret code words that made you look like a fool. She could not wait to get Baldy into your house. She is scum, and the only answer here is scorched earth, my friend. Bury them both. I cannot think of more deserving people." Life Yogurt Closet said, "I'm sorry, OP. You did everything perfectly. You may even sue the gym where Baldy worked since he sexually harassed your wife and trespassed in your home." Insane Ike 22 said, "Baldy goes from one woman to the next as he gets caught or the woman pressures him for commitment. You need to contact the gym where he works and inform the owner about what Baldy did. You might consider taking legal action against the gym if they do not take appropriate measures regarding Baldy. The minute your wife started arguing was the minute Baldy started sleeping with her. You are your wife's security and ATM. I have always found that the best revenge is living well and taking the silver and gold away from Baldy and your wife." Update 2. Hi again. I didn't expect to update so soon, but something important has happened. I'd like to share something my therapist told me. Do you remember I started therapy because Jane suggested I was having trust issues? It turns out I don't have any. I'm actually one step away from becoming a very gullible person. However, the therapist noticed I have a lot of insecurities due to my obesity. For as long as I can remember, I was the chubby, nerdy guy at school. Never the boyfriend, always the best friend. I had my first girlfriend at 18 and she dumped me a week later for a better looking guy. I went to an engineering high school, so there were few women. My next relationship was in my 20s with a very toxic girl who blamed me for everything, even the rain. She really did a number on me, making me feel guilty for anything that popped into her mind. Later, I started working because my family had money problems, and I didn't have another relationship until I met Jane at university. In the previous session with my therapist, we discussed my feelings about not having kids. She has helped me get my priorities in order. Number 1, myself, including my physical health, intelligence, and soul. Number 2, people who live with me. Number 3, family and friends. Number 4, work. Number 5, leisure and entertainment. The last session was about Jane. The therapist asked about my plans and I told her I would divorce Jane. She told me it is normal to be in such distress because my second priority is crumbling. I will have to go through stages similar to grieving a death: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. I am in the bargaining stage because I keep thinking, what if she really is remorseful? What if we're the golden couple who will survive infidelity? But the reality is that I will never trust her again. It would kill me knowing she's at home alone doing God knows what while I'm at work. Torture for me. Depression is a dangerous stage in my case because it could lead me to gain weight again, so I should stick to the gym and watch my diet closely. I hope this information helps people who are grieving. Now, the update. I've been very busy. I applied for a promotion at work. I could have taken it a long time ago, but it demands a lot of traveling. I feel it will help me heal to be away. Also, I've been looking for a new place to live, and I found a small apartment perfect for me. I've already paid 3 months of rent in advance. I'll move as soon as possible. I haven't seen Jane since Discovery Day or Baldy since that Monday when I am sure he was fired. On the bright side, one of my neighbors, a lady in her 50s, met me in the condo's elevator. She told me she hasn't seen Jane lately. I told her we're drifting apart, and then she happened to remember she's having a dinner and her single niece is coming for a few days and I'm invited. It took me by surprise, looks like I'm in the market again. My attorney told me Jane was going to be served last Friday, but we had some festivities in my country, so she was served last Sunday morning at my in-laws' home. The following Monday, somebody, Jane I guess, slid a letter under my door 3 sheets, front and back, from Jane, mainly explaining what led her to cheat. Here we'll introduce the second villain in the story, a co-worker we'll call Flirty. I've met her a few times at Jane's work events like Christmas or anniversary celebrations. She's really thin, almost skinny, and usually wears a lot of makeup. She also thinks every man wants to sleep with her. One time, she told Jane I was staring at her. I did once because I could see her ribs and thought she looked unhealthily thin. Anyway, according to Jane's letter, when she lost weight, Flirty approached her because she wanted them to be best friends since they were the two hotties at work. That's when the brainwashing started. Flirty made her think she deserved a better man and was entitled to one. She told her I was a pathetic man who would try to control her now that she's attractive. When the incident with the Smith machine happened, Flirty said, See, didn't I tell you he wants to be your owner more than your husband? Jane bought it, and due to Flirty's manipulation, she was resentful toward me for months. When we attended the gym at different times, Jane met Baldy accidentally at the mall and he approached her. She confessed she had a crush on a guy similar to Baldy before she met me. They went for a bite to eat and both flirted. Jane showed Flirty Baldy's picture from social media, and Flirty told her she'd be a fool if she didn't sleep with him, especially since her pathetic husband doesn't compare with that Greek god. She had the opportunity, she was eager, so she did. Baldy took her to his house, which coincidentally is close to the mall where they ran into each other. All this happened 9 months ago. Flirty is a professional cheater. She told Jane how to cover her tracks, use work words as code, hide Baldy's contact, and hide her map tracking history. She even told her that changing her phone password was stupid because I would immediately suspect something. Jane noticed Baldy hated when she talked about me, and as punishment, he made hickeys on her body. He used to trash me, but she never played along. Meanwhile, Flirty used to tell her that she was entitled to this romance and that I deserved to be cheated on because I'm a beta. During those months, Jane says she liked the feeling of danger, the thrill, and the sex with Baldy was good, but it also hurt her seeing me struggle to be a better husband, knowing she was the reason for my pain. It was easier to ignore me and continue with the pleasure Baldy gave her. Discovery Day arrived. I completely blindsided her. She thought I was clueless. I'm going to write this part just as she wrote it. I was in shock and I covered myself with the blanket by pure instinct. When I reacted, I saw you pushing and kicking Baldy out of the room and the house. When I heard you closing the door and coming back, I didn't know what to say. I have never seen you this angry before. Then you said, I have never hurt you, nor will I. That's true. In the years we've known each other, you have never hurt me, not even when we found out that it's my fault we can't have children. After that, she heard me crying in the spare room. She wanted to comfort me, but how could she? At the main door, we have a mirror to check ourselves before going out. She looked at herself, but couldn't bear the sight. When she entered her car, she cried and told herself, "What have I done?" Baldy called her that night, but she blocked him. She arrived at her sister-in-law's house at about midnight, 2 hours after the drama. Her house is around 40 minutes from mine. She was scared to tell her sister-in-law what happened because she's older and has a very strong character. The next day, she told Flirty what had happened. Flirty told her she should be happy that she got rid of me. I'm going to copy this part too. J, and then what? F, babe, you are free. You can have sex with Baldy or any guy you want. J, and then F, I don't follow you. J, what will happen when I'm tired of having sex with a bunch of guys? F, then you can decide which one to date seriously. J, and then what? F, I don't know, get married I suppose. J, but I already had a marriage. F, but it was with OP. He's a loser. I bet Baldy is 100 times better than him. J, no, that's not true. He gave me a good life. F, don't settle for so little. You can have a better man. Then they proceeded to have a big fight in front of their co-workers. She can't recall it well, but she remembers swearing and yelling at her. Flirty told her that any guy hotter than me is better than me, but Jane realized what she had destroyed. She was inconsolable and her boss let her go home early. The next day is when I showed my sister-in-law the video. Jane was babysitting her twins. After I drove her home, my sister-in-law asked Jane to help her run some errands, just the two of them. That was a lie. They parked at a park and she demanded to know what was going through Jane's head to cheat on me. Jane cried and told her, "I don't know." My sister-in-law confessed she was envious of our marriage 11 years and not a huge fight. We both looked happy. She couldn't believe her little sister was capable of such a thing. Jane was there for her when her ex-husband left her for another woman. Jane asked her not to kick her out, and my sister-in-law told her she could stay. After all, that house belongs to both of them, but she let her know she's very disappointed and will side with me if I ever need her help. Jane understood. The next Sunday, Jane came to apologize, but I was not home. When she received my attorney's card, she called and my attorney confirmed I had hired him. She knew I was really going to divorce her, so she went to her new home, wrote a confession, and sent it to everybody we both know. I started receiving messages and phone calls the following week, but I didn't want to read or answer them. Now I've read some of the messages and it is what she said. Most people want to comfort me. One of her cousins said it takes guts to confess, so I should give her a chance. The following week, she tried to distract herself with work, but it seems everybody now knows she cheated. If you are unfaithful in my country, people see you as an easy woman. So female coworkers don't talk to her, particularly Flirty, and male coworkers are annoyingly friendly to her. She asked to be relocated, but it would take months, so she quit her job the following Friday. She has a good amount of savings. We had our finances separated, and since I was the big earner, I paid for almost everything. The next day, she was looking for me, in her words, to beg me to take her back. She came here, but when she saw I wasn't home, she went to my parents' house. My dad refused to speak to her, but my mom was sympathetic and told her that she's sorry about all this, but her son, me, is really hurt and asked them not to talk about her anymore. Jane understood, but then went to my brother's house. He told her, "OP is not here, and frankly, I don't want to talk to you," and closed the door in her face. She went back to her new house very sad. All last week, she has been reflecting on her actions and she's been really depressed, realizing how much damage she has done to our relationship, to her family, and to mine. And all for meaningless pleasure coming from a man who, in her words, believes vaccines are just a pharmacy scam and believes in astrology. My sister-in-law suggested she go to therapy. I don't blame her. If my brother were in the same situation, I'd be very disappointed, but I'd try to make him realize what is wrong with him. She finally went to therapy, and her therapist suggested writing me this letter and coming clean. So she says everything written in the letter is true. She swears on her life that if I take her back, there will be no spouse in the history of humanity more grateful, loyal, and honest than her. She suggests total access to her social media. She says she will always answer my calls, no matter the situation, and never have friends I don't approve of. There are more things about family and friends that I don't think are important to share, as they need a lot of context. Finally, she pleads to meet me and let her apologize properly to my face. In her words, "Sorry doesn't begin to describe what I'm feeling right now. What do I think of this letter?" The things I can confirm are that she hasn't contacted Baldy until that Monday when he was fired, and she confessed to family and friends. The rest could be partially true, but I am sure it's been sweetened. For example, she does not mention when she called me jealous and immature. She does not mention letting Baldy have unprotected sex with her and allowing him to finish inside. She can give me all her passwords, but she lied to my face and gaslighted me for 9 months, and she was very good at it. Besides, I don't want to be her jailer. As I said, I will never trust her again. Whenever I see her face, I'll also see Baldy's nape in front of her. I will not be her second option, nor will I be a doormat. I haven't replied yet, but I think I'll see her next weekend. Update 3. I'm back. Thank you to everyone who contacted me. I've been silent because I needed time to reflect, and I finally got it. Thank you very much. It has been some very rough days. For those who want to know, I did meet Jane. No, I did not answer her letter. It happened by a dumb mistake I made. I'll explain. A few days after my last post, I had an anxiety attack due to the stress I had bottled up. My life had changed completely, and my mind had not had time to adjust. It was my first time experiencing this kind of episode. I thought I was having a stroke. tachycardia, sweating, and panic clouded my judgment. My coworkers called emergency services and an ambulance came for me. If I had not been so scared, I might have enjoyed the ride. I was so sure that at any moment I would die. The paramedic kept repeating, "Mister, you are having a panic attack. Everything is going to be fine." I tried to focus on his words, but I couldn't. My only thought was, I'm going to die. At the hospital, they sedated me, and I started to feel better and sleepy. I could answer questions. The doctor asked for my name, my age, and what day it was. I answered correctly until I passed out. When I woke up, guess who was next to me? Jane. I had forgotten to remove her name and number from my emergency contact. I was very confused due to the medication. I smiled at her and said, "Jane." She was sitting reading a book, and when she heard me, she jumped out of her seat and approached me. She had tears in her eyes and said, "Hello, my love, you really scared us." That is when everything came back to me. I stopped smiling and asked, "What are you doing here?" I tried to sit up, but my body felt numb and clumsy. She shushed me and said, "Take it easy, no sudden movements. I'll get the doctor." She kissed my forehead and left. I wanted to avoid the kiss, but my reflexes were numb. That kiss felt so familiar, but I know it has been more than a year since she kissed me with sincere love. While she was gone, I looked around. I was in a big room with 6 other beds, 4 of them occupied, all separated by curtains for privacy. I also noticed I was not wearing my clothes, but a hospital robe. A few minutes later, she came back with the doctor. I had slept for 26 hours. The doctor explained everything about the anxiety attack I suffered. He asked if I had stopped taking any medication, but Jane and I answered almost at the same time, "I don't, and he doesn't take any medication." I hate how well she knows me. The doctor told me the episode was caused by heavy stress or a sudden change in my life. Or both. I glanced at Jane, but she hid her eyes. He ordered some days off to reflect and get therapy. I told him I am already in therapy, but the doctor said I need to see a psychiatrist. My therapist is a thanatologist and psychologist, so she cannot prescribe medication. He told me I must be hungry and that I would be discharged the next day, then he left. It was 8 p.m., so Jane had another hour until visiting hours were over, and she did not look like she wanted to leave. It felt awkward, and that feeling led me to chatter like an idiot. So I asked, "You said you scared us. Who is us?" She smiled. I bet she knew I could not resist talking. "Your parents and me, they were here in the morning. Did they leave?" "Yes, they are expecting my call. I'll talk to them tomorrow. You can leave. I want to sleep." "But your dinner is almost here." When the doctor mentioned I must be hungry, my stomach grumbled. I had not eaten anything for 26 hours. A few minutes later, a veteran nurse came with a tray on a cart. She asked Jane to adjust the bed so I would be in a sitting position to eat. I do not know what kind of face I made, but Jane was amused and stared at me while the nurse arranged the tray in front of me on my bed. She said, "God, I love you so much." I glared at her again and asked her one more time to go home, but the nurse got really mad at me. According to her, Jane had sponge bathed me and even shaved me. Finally, she asked Jane to feed me because I was still coming out of the medication. I told her we are getting divorced, but she said that is not her problem and I should be thankful Jane has been here to help and that I am a very ungrateful person. Then she left. I refused Jane's help and tried to eat, even though my movements were very clumsy. I was making a mess with the soup and Jane begged me to let her help. I felt like a spoiled brat throwing a tantrum. I just said, "Fine," and let her feed me. I had never felt so vulnerable before. She behaved very maternally and affectionately. I could have a close look at her. She was not wearing makeup. I saw more lines of expression, and she has crow's feet now. I felt better after I finished eating. She took the tray out of the room. She was in a good mood. I saw a patient in front of me, a man in his 50s, checking Jane out when she went out and came back. I am not surprised. She was wearing a coat and jeans, but she is very pretty. I did not like the feeling of being in debt to her. When she sat down, I said, "Thanks for being here." She looked me in the eyes and smiled, anytime. She tried to comb my hair on my forehead with her hand, but I was able to reject her this time. She looked hurt, and I did not say anything. She tried to grab my hand, but I pulled it away, and she said, "Can we talk, please?" I remained silent. There are only two reasons for me to at least be cordial to her, the twins. They were not baptized when they were toddlers, but after my sister-in-law's ex left, Jane and I supported my sister-in-law and the twins. I love those two little rascals with all my heart. When we babysat them, I told Jane this would count as parent training for when we had our own. That will never happen. My sister-in-law asked us to be their godparents, and I teared up with emotion. They are the closest thing I have to a daughter and a son. I know Jane loves them too, and I do not want any drama near my godson and goddaughter, and I miss them so much. I have not seen them since about a week before Discovery Day. Also, I have not spoken to them because I was avoiding Jane, so I told her, okay, let's talk, in the condo. I'll contact you soon. She offered to take me home the next day when I was discharged. I told her no, I would ask my parents to come for me and I would see her again in the condo. I wanted to talk to my parents. She noticed I was looking for my clothes. She opened a cabinet next to my bed and gave me my phone. I looked at her suspiciously and she made her guilty face again, meaning I am sure she snooped on my phone and she admitted it. We did not utter a word. That is the language we developed by being married for 11 years. I do not care if she snooped, I have nothing to hide. I texted my parents and they called almost immediately. While I was talking to them, the same old nurse told Jane visiting hours were over. She wanted to say goodbye, but I ignored her. She whispered in my ear, I know you keep your word. I'll wait for you to contact me. I love you. She kissed my hair and left. I do keep my word. My father always told me a man is worth as much as his word. I asked my parents if they knew what happened after I passed out. According to them, one of my coworkers showed up at the hospital to give information about my medical insurance. That is when the staff saw the emergency contact and called Jane. My sister-in-law contacted them after the hospital called. When Jane came, she met my coworker and he left. Jane was waiting for the doctor assigned to me when my parents arrived. My dad was very cordial to her and asked what she knew. After a while, a nurse called out, relatives of patient OP, and they stood up. The nurse guided them to the doctor. They had already tested my blood and told them I am physically healthy. My anxiety attack stems from a psychological aspect. The doctor asked for Jane to see me because she is the emergency contact. She promised my parents to call them after seeing me. When she came back, she was surprised that my parents were still there waiting. She gave them a ride to their home while she told them she helped the nurses to undress me and put the hospital robe on. They did not talk about our divorce. My parents thanked her for the ride and agreed to visit in the morning, and she would switch in the afternoon around 1 p.m. Also, I called my sister-in-law to thank her for calling my parents. Luckily, my godchildren were still up and I could speak to them. They were drawing get well soon cards for me. I promised to visit next weekend. The next day, it was Thursday, I was discharged from the hospital. My parents took me to my new home. A week before my panic attack, I had started moving to my new place. I took my personal belongings, everything else will stay in the condo. I'll rent it as fully furnished. Luckily, there are 3 universities nearby. I know there are students who would love a place like mine. I have already bought the basic furniture, a refrigerator, a stove, a bed, a table with chairs, and a desk. Cleaning tools as well. I felt thrilled for the first time. I can call this little apartment my own place. I bought a nice warm jacket for Mr. P. I gave it to him, thanked him for his help, and told him I'll visit from time to time. I did not attend my neighbor's dinner. I do not feel like dating yet. I think I need more therapy and more healing. At my new home, I reflected on my goals for meeting Jane. I concluded I need closure to understand her actions, to make her understand that there is no possible reconciliation, and to end things amicably. I'll divorce her and move on. But I do not want to lose my in-laws, my sweet and incoherent mother-in-law, my stubborn and strong sister-in-law, and her twins whom I love. I do not want to miss their birthdays and future achievements. I want to be at least cordial to Jane. At work, my boss gave me 5 days off starting the next week. I did not want to stay in, so I went to the beach. It really helped me to be away from everything and rest. I realized I do love my wife, but the chubby one. The one who got excited when Pizza Fridays arrived. The one I married 11 years ago. The one who supported my dreams and hopes. The one who hugged me when life got rough. I do not know what happened to her. Did vanity kill her? Lust? I have no idea. But I love my wife deeply, and the one who betrayed me is not my wife. Update 4. Finally, I saw my godchildren. My sister-in-law took them to a park and I met them there. The four of us had a great day. Last weekend, I met Jane. It was pretty much as I expected, pleading and lots of crying on both sides. Surprisingly, she did not blame me. She admitted it was all her fault. When she snooped on my phone, she saw that I had moved from the condo, read my Reddit posts, and more importantly to her, that I am not dating anyone. Before the meeting, I had another session with my therapist and discussed my anxiety attack and the conversation I would have with Jane. She told me the best way to move on is to follow these steps. 1. Hit rock bottom. 2. Identify and take control of your emotions. 3. Focus on self-improvement. 4. Take a break. 5. Be constructive. Most of you champions told me to keep my emotions in check. I am sure I will get angry, sad, and anxious. I must not let it cloud my words and judgment, especially since I am prone to another anxiety episode. My therapist mentioned some breathing techniques that really helped me. Let's move to last Saturday. I asked Mr. P to check if Jane was alone. She arrived on time, alone, and looking stunning. A new short dress and high heels. I won't lie, my heart skipped a beat. She smiled at me when I opened the door as if she was so happy to see me. I remained calm and expressionless. She opened her arms, expecting a hug, but I simply gestured for her to come in. I offered her tea. She loves chamomile tea, and she accepted, while I made myself a coffee. We sat in front of each other, the table between us. I took out my phone and started recording. I tried to write everything word for word and use boxing references, but it was too long and crude, so I gave up. I'll give you a summary. After some awkward small talk, she told me she had read my post and the waterworks began. She said that the Jane who made me suffer is gone now. She claims that the so-called affair fog is real and she cannot believe what she did to me. I told her, then you know I think your letter has been sugar-coated. She insisted that everything she wrote is true, but I said I think it is nonsense that Flirty brainwashed her. She is 10 times smarter than that. I demanded she tell me the truth. She went silent and I raised my voice. No, Jane, you are not allowed to be silent again. I had to pause and breathe because I was getting angry. You have to come clean to me right now. I know more than what you wrote in your letter. Sadly, she admitted she wanted to sleep with Baldy. She admitted she loved the attention she was receiving, and when she saw Baldy devouring her with his eyes, she felt thrilled and aroused. She confessed it began before the elliptical machine incident about a week earlier when I was changing clothes in the showers and she was waiting for me outside. Baldy chatted with her, was flirty, and she could not believe he would come on to her. She cried when she told me this. I asked, is that what it takes for you to throw your morals and ethics away? A strong body and a bird brain? She said she was really stupid and selfish and that she took me for granted, but she assured me that it was only physical, never emotional. She swore she never told him, I love you, and that I am the only owner of her heart and her body. I told her, it's been about 3 months since we had sex, and last time I could tell you weren't into it. I bet you were longing for bird brain. She said that's not true, because according to her, she cannot bear a life without me. I said, I don't believe you. You had a good income. You could easily sustain a decent life with bird brain. She repeated that she does not love him and he was just a toy. I called nonsense one more time and reminded her of when I saw them at the mall. I am going to copy this part. OP, I saw you at the mall with him, hugging, kissing like when we were engaged. She was fidgeting. I'm so sorry. OP, tell me the truth. You do love him. She shook her head. I liked how people stared at us, but I don't love him. OP, seems like you were the perfect couple, which would never happen with us, right? You love the attention, which you would never have with a person like me. Jane, please don't say that. OP, why not? It's true. Jane, no, you are the man of my dreams. I only want to be with you. OP, if you love me so much, then why cheat? What did he give you that I didn't? She could not answer the question. I repeated it, and she covered her face with her hands and finally admitted she considered Birdbrain's body more attractive than mine. Another jab. It was something I expected, but damn, it hurt. Jane, I swear I had a moment of weakness, and I hate myself for that. OP, one moment, I yelled again. That moment lasted 9 months. She cried again. It got out of control. OP, 9 months, 9 fucking months of disrespect and lies. Tell me, how could I ever trust you again? Was Birdbrain the only one? What will happen when the next man steps in front of you? You were very good at lying and hiding your cheating. Now she looked desperate. I'm telling you the truth. I know you have no reason to believe me, but I've reflected. I've seen my life without you, and I am so sorry. I'm sorry I cheated on you. I'm sorry I lied. I'm sorry your family hates me. But most of all, I am so ashamed I hurt you. I beg for your forgiveness. I'm here to come clean and fix things so we can be together again. A lot of tears fell from her face. Before Discovery Day, I would have given anything to ease those tears. Today, I only felt anger. OP, I think you are not getting it. I can no longer trust you. I can't be your husband anymore. There is no way I can forget you in that room with him. You texted him the very same day I told you I was going to my parents, and you were ready to get rid of me. My God, Jane, half an hour after I left, he was inside you and raw. And you even let him finish inside. Why? By this point, I was crying too, and I forced her to answer. She looked defeated. She said it made Bird Brain more excited and she liked it, and since she cannot get pregnant, she thought it did not matter. I swallowed because I felt a huge knot in my throat. With a trembling voice, I asked, what else? I was fishing for more information, but I did not expect what came next. Jane could not look me in the eyes. She looked down and said, he made me beg him to finish inside. This was an uppercut to me. I could not speak for several minutes. This is when I hit rock bottom. We both cried, and Jane only said, forgive me, forgive me. She tried to grab my hand, but I pulled it away. Then she told me the first time Bird Brain finished inside was the first time she denied intimacy to me. She felt dirty and did not want me to be tainted. I felt disgusted. I almost threw up. She swears that's when Bird Brain became more demanding and threatened to come and tell me everything because he thinks Jane belongs to him. I could not utter a word. I could still feel the knot in my throat. I wiped my tears with my sleeve. I used our sign language to tell her that her makeup was running. She went to the bathroom and I could catch my breath to calm down a little. While she was away, I confirmed to myself there is no way I would ever take her back. I am so disgusted. I feel like I have been gutted, but I also knew I needed to know this. I needed to know how deep the rabbit hole went. I do not want to carry this anger and confusion anymore. When she came back from the bathroom, I told her I cannot go on. I need space and time. She said she understood. Before she left, she asked me if I will ever forgive her. I told her I do not know, but I appreciate her honesty. She hugged me. I did not return the hug. She cried, and I could feel her tears wetting my neck. She swore in the name of my late father-in-law, who was her hero, that she will never cheat on me again, that she has gone no contact with Bird Brain, and that she will devote her life to us and to our marriage. She even proposed to gain weight again so I would be sure she is committed to me. I told her she was talking nonsense. We both made a big effort to lose weight, but she said therapy made her realize that she is a narcissist and an attention junkie. I gave her a key to the condo so she could get all her stuff. She finally left. I thought I would cry a lot, but strangely, I had a feeling of relief. It feels like my mind is telling me, now you can move on. I lay down and reflected a lot. I even skipped a meal. In my mind, I finally accepted that the love of my life is gone. I guess I got my closure. Update 5. Thank you all for your messages and comments asking for an update. Sorry to say, a depression has kicked in. Let me walk you through what has happened. Several things have taken place in the last few months, but today, February 17th, my divorce is complete. I am a single man again. First, let's go back to October 20th, 22. At last, I had a good glimpse of my life as a single man. I've been going to my parents' house to learn to cook. I like cooking a lot. Last weekend, I made bread myself. It was kind of ugly, but delicious. I'll practice a lot to bake a cake for my godchildren for their birthday next March. Also, I noticed I'm very intolerant toward cheating topics. Have you seen the sitcom The Office? It used to crack me up, but now that I've seen the cheating and gaslighting, it stopped being funny to me, even if they try to hide it as romance. I can't tolerate it. I bet none of the writers have been cheated on. I spoke to my attorney. He mentioned that Bird Brain's lawsuit proceeded, and that reminded me I wanted to have a chat with Frank. Long story short, I met Frank, and he told me Bird Brain was fired the same Monday I met him. And yes, he was living illegally at Frank's father's house. Since Bird Brain was his employee for years, Frank filed a civil suit for trespassing, meaning he can't be near Frank or any of his properties for the next 5 years. If he does, the police will be involved. I asked if Jane would be sued too, but he said Birdbrain confessed she was unaware of the situation and that she just went to the house to exercise with his guidance. Besides, Frank assumed Jane and I were still together, and he felt he owed me that. Frank is very cordial and friendly. He was cheated on in his youth, so he has zero tolerance for the topic. He gave me something and said, "You're going to love this." He showed me his phone. It was a soundless video from one of his CCTV cameras. It took me a minute to recognize it was showing the gym's cafeteria. All tables are empty except one. There is a man sitting with his back to the camera, then a huge muscular back appears, and I recognize Harry walking toward the man. I ask, "Is that?" Frank nods and I continue watching. Harry puts his hand on Birdbrain's shoulder, then Birdbrain covers his face with his hands. I can tell they are chatting, and finally, both men walk toward the camera and Birdbrain's face can be seen clearly for a few seconds. Sad expression, red eyes, and tears on his cheeks. The video ends when they are out of the screen. We both laughed. I said I'm going to put this video as my screensaver. It was taken the day before Birdbrain was fired. I've gone to my first session with the psychiatrist. He said I have signs of depression due to my anxiety combined with my insecurities, so he prescribed a mild antidepressant pill daily until the next session. At the time, I didn't feel any different. Also, I started taking kickboxing lessons. My coach told me I have good reflexes, but I have a long way to go. Jane took all her stuff from the condo. She also took our big marriage picture. My brother's friend gave me a good idea. I'll sacrifice the living room to make another bedroom and make the dining room and kitchen a common area. So it will have 3 bedrooms. I hired a guy to take care of it. My attorney informed me Jane has her own attorney and he requested a meeting. I asked what I had to do and he told me to play along. He'll do all the talking and I just have to agree. Unless my lawyer thinks they make an unreasonable request, he'll ask for a time out to discuss it. The following week, the meeting took place at Jane's attorney's office. Jane was stunning and very quiet. She was trying to steal glances at me. After the proper introductions, her attorney mentioned that since I've already refused to pay alimony, the issue concerning his client won't be mentioned. My attorney said that's fine if it is listed for the record, which her attorney reluctantly agreed to. Then they proceeded to split our assets, which was pretty fast because I don't want anything and Jane said she has taken everything she treasures. Besides, we didn't have expensive stuff. Finally, her attorney asked for 5 sessions of marriage counseling and added that if I agree and attend with an open mind and honesty, his client guarantees a smooth divorce. My attorney reduced them to 3 and no contact between sessions. I made a worried face to my attorney and he kicked my foot under the table, meaning to play along. I saw Jane and she was making a face I've seen when she really wants me to do something, so I made my "okay, you win" face, and she smiled. Later, I asked my attorney if marriage counseling was necessary. He said it is, because the judge who will be assigned to our case may agree with Jane since she's making the attempt to reconcile while I am not, or the judge may agree with me and ignore it. So attending counseling is a necessary risk. I said she was the one who cheated and he told me I've already asked for compensation and the judge will overlook her adultery. The judge has the power to divorce us right there or may order more counseling and/or a period for reconciliation. It's like flipping a coin. Moving on to mid-October, we attended the first session. We sat on big sofas, one in front of the other, and in the middle was the counselor, let's call her Dolores. After hearing all the background and the main point of our divorce, she asked both of us what we expect. I said I just want to be amicable but still want to divorce, and Jane said she wants to reconcile. She asked for Jane's opinion about my goal and she said she doesn't want to divorce, she has never stopped loving me. I was about to argue, but the counselor asked me not to interrupt. Then she asked me about Jane's goal. I said I don't think we can reconcile because I don't trust her anymore and I think she's in love with another person. This time, Jane wanted to say something, but the counselor asked Jane not to interrupt. Then she asked me why I think that. I mentioned the gaslighting, how she was giggling the day before Discovery Day, and how eager she was to get rid of me on Discovery Day. It was Jane's turn to talk. She swears she does not love Birdbrain. She has never told him I love you because she doesn't. She barely spoke to him during the day, even though he was constantly sending messages to her. She assures me she doesn't know important stuff like his birthday, but she confessed she liked the thrill, the secrecy, the staring from other people. She wanted to show me from her phone that she wasn't talking to Birdbrain that night. I said her phone is useless because she used to delete conversations. Dolores mentioned there are apps that can recover deleted messages. I said, oh yeah? But Jane was silent and I could see she was thinking very fast. Dolores and I stared at her and she was making nervous movements. I said, will you give me your phone? Jane looked like she wanted to argue but kept silent. I said, you are still in contact with him, aren't you? Jane almost screamed, no, I swear, but she was hesitant about giving me her phone, and finally she gave it to me and said, please, remember the Jane who texted is not me anymore. I said, what does that mean? I beg you, don't make me say it. I was in the fog. I asked Dolores about this affair fog. She told me from her experience it looks like the judgment is clouded by the excitement and focus on a new relationship, so the person's mind can't comprehend or just ignores the consequences of their actions. It varies a lot from person to person. Jane told me, OP, I'm deeply sorry for all I texted to him. Now I can't understand why I was so disrespectful to you. At that moment, I wasn't sure I wanted to know what she meant. If she trashed me like Birdbrain did, it would be a massive blow to me. I confided everything in her. Next, Dolores asked me what it would take for me to reconcile. I told her there are two major obstacles I don't see how to overcome. Number one, she lied for a long time and I can't trust her anymore. Number two, I can't be intimate with her ever again since she gave her body to another man. This made Jane tear up. She says it was purely physical, like using a toy. Besides, she swears Birdbrain wasn't very impressive at all. I reminded her of my reason number one. She insisted, almost desperate, OP, I have never made love to him, you are the only one. I just felt angry and yelled back, and that's why you didn't touch me for the last months? Dolores asked Jane her reasoning for cheating on me. She spoke about being the chubby girl, bullied and ignored. She was very lonely when she was a teenager. At university, she was friends with some girls, but they tended to leave her behind. If it weren't for her great grades, they would have completely ignored her. Then we met and it was like finding a twin soul. When she lost weight, all her fat went to very strategic places that made her look voluptuous. At first, it was scary when men stared at her, but when Flirty and her friends told her she's hot and beautiful and that she must be confident, that's when she started enjoying the attention and her ego went through the roof when she saw Birdbrain staring at her too. She told me, you don't know how it feels to be ugly. I told her I do. I lost count of rejections and being friend-zoned. At work, female colleagues made a list of handsome male colleagues and I didn't figure in it. I am still unattractive and I didn't care because I had a person who loved me. But that person traded me for a better-looking guy. That sentence made her tear up again. I belong to an ethnicity that is very bullied in my country, associated with poverty and ugliness. I had very hurtful nicknames and according to my therapist, that's what made me gain weight, like an armor to protect my wounded ego. Dolores asked me if I can see she's remorseful. I said I can tell she is, but just because she's been caught, not for her cheating. Jane said she knows she screwed up, that's why she confessed to all the people we both know. Dolores was especially interested in this confession and asked Jane why she confessed to people unaware of our marital problems. She said she knew she deserved a punishment. It wasn't enough to receive my anger and cold shoulder. Many people called her and berated her. She listened to every word, every insult, and every curse. My sister-in-law can confirm she did. She has lost friendships and most of my relatives have disowned her, but she gladly took that bitter step if it would help to reconcile with me. I was out of words. Dolores told me most unfaithful people tend to hide their cheating as a denial mechanism. But Jane didn't. She owned her mistake. That's something I should give her credit for. I asked what would have happened if I were still unaware, if today I were still clueless. She said Birdbrain was getting very aggressive and he was demanding either he or she tell me about the affair. He used to scare her, saying something would happen to me and she was afraid of what he would do. In her own words, I think you finding out was the best thing that could happen. It made me react and realize how screwed up I was. I told her I know Birdbrain is in love with her and she already knew. That's why he hates me and used to trash me and he was demanding to disrespect me in my own house. He knew if I was in the picture, Jane would never be his. Dolores asked me, what does your wife gain by asking for this marriage counseling? If she's so in love with Birdbrain, wouldn't she be eager to divorce you sooner? Why is she making all this effort? I must remind you she has already lost her acquaintances' respect. I couldn't answer. I know I'm not her meal ticket. She had a very decent job and she can get another one easily. She's not homeless nor disowned by her sister. Then I said, for the sake of the argument, let's say we reconcile and we live together again. What would happen then? I'd doubt everything she tells me. Every time I'm not looking, I'd suspect. It'd be torture for me. Jane said, I know it would be difficult, but I'd never give you reasons to doubt me. I responded, you wouldn't for now, but what about in 2 years when the dust settles? When I have signs of trusting you again and another guy catches your eye or stares at you? Jane kneeled in front of me, looking me in the eyes. I'd never hurt you ever again. The two most devastating experiences I recently had were when I received the divorce papers and thinking you may have been badly injured when they called me from the hospital. If you give me another chance, I'll always remember these 2 times I thought I lost you and devote my life to making us happy. I was out of words again, so I just scoffed by the time the session was over. At home, I checked Jane's phone. I noticed that Birdbrain is still blocked. I unblocked him and a lot of messages came through. Babe, are you okay? Babe, call me. Babe, I'll go to your house to check on you unless you call me first. Babe, where are you? I bought an app to recover deleted messages. I was very nervous. I got most of the earlier messages back. The older ones were difficult, so I got only a few of them. I was expecting her to be disrespectful to me, but she tries not to mention me. I found some sexting conversations, but knowing Jane, she didn't enjoy it. Birdbrain uses rude words a lot, and Jane hates that. He called her babe and some other ridiculous pet names I didn't even dare to use when we were in the honeymoon phase. Lots of I love yous from him, but I didn't find a single one from Jane. I felt some relief and then scolded myself because I shouldn't feel that. Also, as Jane said, Birdbrain used to mock me. He called me fatty, pathetic loser, and little girl. Whenever he mentions me, Jane just said, I don't want to talk about my husband. In the most recent messages, I can tell whenever she didn't play along, Birdbrain got angry and told her he was on his way to my job to tell me everything while she begged him not to. Obviously, it was just a bluff. He doesn't know where I work. I looked for the messages from the day before Discovery Day and she didn't text him. No call records either. I snooped some more and saw she was messaging a chat group with Flirty and 2 other girls that night. They are hilarious. Some of their comments made me chuckle. The day after Discovery Day, Jane was kicked out of the group. The next marriage counseling session was related to our past. Dolores asked how we met. It was at the university. We both were in the library doing homework. I had the last copy of a certain book. Jane asked me for it because she had to go home early, but I also had to go to my job, so we both needed it. And I told her we could photocopy it. We were in different majors, but we had the same teacher, so the assignment was the same. We chatted while we were in line. We hit it off, and I noticed how beautiful, intelligent, and kind she was. She just thought I was a good person. I lent her the book and I got the photocopies. That way she had to return the book to me and we would chat again. I arrived late at work, but I felt it was totally worth it. We were friendly until I invited her out, but she turned me down. From there, I just greeted her in the hallways like a friend, but I didn't make a move on her. Suddenly, a week later, she invited me out. I babbled a yes and we started dating. Next, Dolores asked what made us fall in love with each other. In my case, it was when I took Jane to eat Japanese food for the first time. She was clumsily trying to eat using the chopsticks until she had enough and said, "Forget this," and she pierced the meat and ate that way. I'd never heard her curse before, so it made me laugh and I said, "I love you," for the first time. Jane took longer to open up, but she says it was during a trip we both took. She knew it was going to be our first time being intimate, but she had cold feet because she thought it would disappoint her father. She was also scared. She thought I would get mad and didn't tell me. At night, she started crying and apologized to me. I told her I wasn't mad, and if she didn't feel ready, I understood. I want her to trust me and feel comfortable with me. We cuddled and slept. She realized she felt secure with me, and that was the first time she told me the L word. That session, I didn't get angry nor yell, and I had a nice time remembering the good old times. I gave Jane her phone back. I told her I believe her. She's not in love with Birdbrain. She took her phone, smiled at me, and left without a word. She really is respecting my no contact request. The following Sunday, one of my cousins threw a Halloween party at a bar and invited me. No disguises were required, so I groomed myself and attended the party alone. Karen was one of the many people who received Jane's confession. She wrote to Jane that she would introduce me to a very hot date, so she introduced me to a friend of hers, a woman in her late 20s, very attractive. Let's call her Princess. I greeted her and then I saw it. She made a face I've seen several times, like I had a giant booger dripping from my nose. A face of disgust and disappointment. I usually don't care about it because I had my beautiful wife. At that time, I was eager to know how much I've improved myself. It seems none since 18 years ago when I met Jane. She never gave me that look. She always looked happy to see me, and that's why I fell fast and hard for her. Immediately, my defense mechanism acted, and I wanted to keep my distance from Princess, but Karen sat us in a booth, and I tried very clumsily to chat, but she barely responded. She took her phone out and texted while I tried to maintain conversation. Another guy came and told her, "Here you are, I didn't know you were coming. Want to dance?" She looked at me and said, "You don't mind, right?" I said, "Go and have fun." I saw them getting lost in the crowd while I kept thinking, so he didn't know she was here, but still, he was looking for her. I bet she texted him, "Come and save me from this creep." I looked for Karen. It took me some minutes to find her. She was talking to Princess. Before they noticed me, I clearly heard her saying, "You said he's a catch." He is, and Karen saw me. They immediately got quiet. I said I wasn't feeling well and I was going home. I told Princess, "Sorry for not meeting your expectations." She shrugged. Karen had daggers in her eyes. When I got home, I thought she was just some materialistic witch, but she stirred some dark old feelings from my youth. I couldn't stop them coming for me. I'll be alone from now on. Childless, wifeless. I am a very unattractive man. It will be very hard for me to build another relationship. I'm almost 45 and alone, a total loser. I had another anxiety attack. My therapist told me what to do. I got under my sheets, covered from head to toe. I was crying, trembling, and sobbing. I don't know for how long until I woke up very early in the morning. My pillow was wet because of my tears and sweat. My head hurt, and I sat on my bed, staring at the floor for almost an hour, lost in my dark thoughts until my alarm rang. It was time to get up, but I didn't. I felt out of energy. I didn't go to the gym. I sat on the shower floor to sob, and then I went to work. One of my close colleagues noticed I was very quiet and slow. He told me I looked sad, and I finally understood depression had kicked in. The following day, I received some texts from Karen apologizing for her friend. I ignored them and tried to go to the gym, but I felt like my energy was cut in half or less. I was tired very quickly, I didn't complete my session, and went home. The following Tuesday, I took my godchildren trick-or-treating with my sister-in-law. I cheered a bit, but when I got home, I felt down again. The third and final session was 3 days after Karen's party. I arrived and tried to make a good face, but I failed. It took some minutes for Jane to notice I was not the same. She asked me if I was okay. I faked a smile and said I was fine, but she stared at me and I couldn't see her in the eyes. She asked Dolores if we could reschedule because OP was not well. I insisted I was fine, but Jane said, "That's a lie. I can tell you're not fine." Dolores asked me what I was feeling. I didn't want to look weak in front of Jane, but then she said, "He's sad." I looked at her surprised. She sat next to me and asked, "What's wrong?" She grabbed my hand, and this time I didn't reject her. I just saw her big, beautiful brown eyes scanning my soul. I'm ashamed to admit I started to sob. I put my elbows on my knees and teared a bit. Jane caressed my back and I regained some composure. My nose was running and my eyes were red. I went to the restroom and wet my face. When I returned and sat next to Jane, I saw she had tears on her face. Dolores asked me the reason for my sadness. Jane said with a trembling voice it was her fault. I agreed to be honest and told her it was not because of her. My insecurities were giving me a rough time. Jane stopped crying and grabbed my face with both of her hands and placed it in front of hers, nose to nose. She said, "OP, I really hate when you say you are unattractive." Then she started numbering the things she likes about me. She also added, "When I undressed you at the hospital and you were only in your underwear, the nurses and I thought, hubba hubba." That made me chuckle and I did feel better. I can see you are in better shape than I remember. I glanced at Dolores. She was silent the whole time, staring at us. She said, you both still can work on a new marriage. Your previous marriage is done, but a new concept could work for both of you. That is my advice if you want to take it. Jane loved the idea. I said I'm not sure about that and I'll discuss it with my lawyer and my therapist. The rest of the session we talked about our lives so far individually. I didn't know Jane got another job in a different company doing the same thing she did in the previous one, and she's still in therapy. I mentioned I'm learning to cook and trying to focus on my mental health. She asked us the good points and bad points of being separated. I mentioned I am busier and it helps me to go on. I didn't mention sometimes I miss my wife, but Jane did. She said she hates being alone and not in her house with her husband, who she loves dearly, and she pressed my hand. I hadn't noticed we were sitting next to each other and she was still holding my hand. I'm sorry to admit, in that moment of darkness, her warm touch felt like a pure ray of light. The session was over. Dolores signed the documents given by our attorneys. We walked together and I took her to her car, still unsure about my feelings for her. She asked me if the no contact request was over. I told her I guess. Then she asked me if we could have a date for my birthday. When she saw my worried face, she hurried to say it was only a dinner. She just wanted us to chat like the good old times. I agreed, but asked for no kisses and no excessive touching. We agreed to meet 2 weeks later. Meanwhile, I asked for no contact again. Final update. I'm back with the final update. I appreciate everyone here. It is because of you that today I have high hopes for my future. Thank you to all you anonymous strangers who dedicate time to help all the hurt souls and lead them to heal. This kind of club sucks, but in the shared pain, we find truly kind individuals who give us a hand simply because they've experienced the same pain. Thank you very much. After meeting Jane and scheduling a date, I was very confused about my feelings. I had to read my own testimony to remind myself what she did to me, but it was like a different person wrote it. I even started thinking her cheating was not so bad and that she was remorseful. I watched her video with Bird Brain again. I wanted to get angry, but I just felt empty. I turned to some of you for advice through messages and learned about something called the reconciliation fog. This makes us do the pick me dance, forgive cheaters, and excuse their actions. I was deep in this fog due to my depression and low self-esteem. Fortunately, I had 2 weeks before my date with Jane. First, I had a meeting with my attorney. He said it was a bad idea and that I should only meet with both attorneys present. I told him it was important to me and that it was going to be my litmus test. He said, "What if she's recording you and presents it as evidence of reconciliation?" I told him I was still not sure what I wanted to do, and that's why I needed to see what would happen. He shrugged and said, "You won't be the first one to have cold feet, but if you still want to divorce, you need to avoid any reconciliation topics and show no signs of affection." I told him I understood. During the first week, I had appointments with my therapist and my psychiatrist. My therapist suggested adopting a pet, as it can help relieve depression. I love the idea because animals tend to like me for some reason, so I went to a shelter and adopted a dog. She's so joyful and intelligent. Her name is Samantha. She's a mixed breed, medium size. I went nuts buying things for her: toys, a leash, a collar with her name, and a nice warm bed. She really helped cheer me up. My godchildren love her. My psychiatrist doubled my dose of antidepressants and prescribed a drug to ease compulsive thoughts. My parents, psychiatrist, and therapist all gave me the same advice. In short, do what will make you happy. But I didn't know what would make me happy in the end. I needed something or someone to smack me back to reality. It came from the last person I'd have thought of. I hadn't attended my last 3 kickboxing classes since Karen's Halloween party. My coach, Abraham, was upset with me. He met me at the showers to scold me, but when he saw I was down, he asked, "Is everything all right?" I said, "Not really." I started telling him about my depression. He has a son currently dealing with the same thing and told me to meet him for some beers. So after class, we went to a bar near the gym and I told him all about Jane and Bird Brain. He was absolutely disgusted and told me basically everything you all have said. I spoke about my feelings and he shut me down and said, "Speak your mind." I was unsure what to say and he repeated, "What is on your mind? I don't care about feelings. Tell me what you want." I opened my mouth like a fish out of water but didn't answer. He seemed exasperated and added, "You really need to man up." He told me to come earlier to the gym the following day. He paid for the drinks and told me, "You're going to be born again." The next day, I arrived 1 hour earlier. Abraham was expecting me. He gave me sparring gear and told me to meet him at the ring. I had never sparred before. I sometimes practiced with a heavy bag, but that was it. Abraham told me to punch him. I threw a punch and he almost laughed at me. He said, "Is this all you've got?" I felt myself blushing. There were some other students watching and I'm the oldest person there. I tried again and Abraham easily blocked me and pushed me back. I tripped and fell on my butt. He said, "Your determination is weak." He helped me stand up and repeated, "Man up." I heard somebody chuckling and I felt mad. I took it more seriously and tried again and again, but I wasn't able to hit Abraham once. I know he was going easy on me. I was tired and he told me to come the following day to repeat it. He added, "You're not giving your all. Show yourself what you can do." That comment stuck with me all day. The following session, Abraham asked a boy to record the sparring using my phone. Once more, I didn't land a single hit. Finally, we watched the video while he gave me his opinion. My movements were clumsy, slow, and weak. I could protect myself from some of his blows, but my reactions looked like I was panicking. I felt embarrassed just watching myself. Abraham told me to man up and that I must do whatever it takes to punch him at least once. I admitted to myself I wasn't putting enough effort into kickboxing. I started watching videos online and decided to add an extra hour to my training. At night, I watched the sparring video, studying my movements and thinking about what I should do differently. I cleared my study to make space for shadow sparring. I was so obsessed with showing Abraham my determination that I completely forgot about my problems and my date with Jane. By the 5th session, I was able to predict some of his movements, but I was still slow. I noticed the number of people watching was increasing. By the 7th day, the miracle happened. I saw his fist moving toward my chest and I knew what to do. It was just 1 second. My body reacted with precision and speed. I punched him in the ribs. I was very glad, but then I saw something black, and the next thing I noticed was my face touching the floor and Abraham shouting, "Give him some room." I turned over. I saw that everyone was in the ring and Abraham kneeled next to me and told me not to move. Somebody came with a first aid kit. My nose was bleeding, I was dizzy, and I asked what happened. Everybody started talking at the same time. They were excited and joyful. Abraham was apologetic and told me, "You did it, man. Sorry, it was a reflex." The kid who usually takes video of us showed me the moment I punched Abraham. He reacted and punched me back in the face and I passed out for about 5 seconds. It took me 1 week to connect a single punch on him. I joined the kids and shouted, "Hell yeah." I was euphoric. Somebody helped me stand up while I felt some pats on my back. I was smiling and Abraham asked, "I'll repeat my question. What do you want?" I yelled, "I want to be stronger. I want to be the best version of myself." "What about your wife?" I made an angry face. "She betrayed me. She doesn't deserve me." He smiled and raised my hand as if I had won the match. We all yelled. I know it was just a punch I finally connected, but Abraham knew I needed this victory more than any therapy, medication, or advice because since then, my confusion, sadness, and doubts all disappeared. Welcome to the last stage, acceptance. In the following days, I put much more effort into my training and I took a series of decisions the old me would have thought over more than once or asked for Jane's opinion. I'll change my look, my car, and I'll do things I didn't do because of fear, and I'll have my first tattoo. Jane texted me the day before our date. I told her the place and time and she added, "Don't be late." I felt so much more confident about myself. We met at her favorite restaurant at lunchtime. She was breathtaking as always. I was kind of plain, jacket, t-shirt, jeans, and hikers. I think she felt very confident in herself. I just smirked and started recording with my phone. We were amicable, my emotions were in check. I didn't feel any anger or rage like last time we met. It felt like when you speak to an old friend and everything is purely platonic, at least from my side. She asked about my sadness. I told her I feel so much better now, which surprised her. She asked what triggered my insecurities, and I told her about the whole princess drama. She was as mad as my cousin Karen was. She mentioned she will never be ready to see me with another partner. I told her I'm ending a messy relationship with my crazy wife. I referred to her as a third person in the past. She caught what I meant. Then she told me, "She sounds like a slut. You should get away from her." We laughed. God, how I miss these conversations with her. Before Bird Brain, we could chat for hours. Then she told me one of my coworkers contacted her and asked her out. I laughed. I've seen that weasel secretly staring at attractive women or girls. I wouldn't be surprised if he has stared at Jane. She turned him down and he got mad. I asked about Flirty. Do you know what her problem is with me? She says she doesn't know, but her theory is that Flirty dislikes my ethnicity and can't stand that I have better qualifications and a higher salary than hers. I'm at least 2 levels above her. Also, Jane discovered Flirty is seriously dating 2 guys, whatever that means to her. We talked about Bird Brain. He called Jane from another number to convince her to run away with him. She swore she didn't speak. She just listened and eventually cut the call. He's gone to another state. I said some nasty things about him. She was amazed at how much of a liar he is and completely agreed with me that he's a loser and a jerk. She asked about the time he and I met. I told her that seeing him so apologetic gave me confidence and I was pissed, so it was easy for me to threaten him. She pleaded with me to repeat the scene, and I did. I told her exactly as I recall what I said and how I said it. Her eyes were wide and she wet her lips. She told me she had goosebumps. She has never seen me so aggressive before, and she repeated that she liked me more. Then she got all flirty with me and asked if I wanted to go stuffing the muffin. This was it, the moment I was waiting for. Jane was bringing her face closer to kiss me. I didn't have time to think, but I felt it again, the anger and resentment. My body reacted and pulled my face away. I made an angry face and told her in a deep voice that stopped her immediately, no. She apologized profusely. I smiled again and told her that we should leave. It was late and I needed to walk Sammy. I paid for the meal. She didn't bring her car and asked me to take her to my home. I guess she was sure we were going to spend the night together. I was reluctant, but I wanted to push myself into the situation just to say no again. When we were in front of my apartment, we could hear Samantha whining and scratching at the door. Before I entered, Jane got all serious and said, "OP, will you ever forgive your wife?" I already did. Then why won't you take her back? Because I will never forget what she did and I can't trust her. She made a sad face but then asked, "What about me? Would you take me instead?" I smiled and said, "What are you talking about? We're friends." She looked offended. "Are you friend-zoning me?" "I guess so, dude." And I softly punched her shoulder. I thought she would look even more offended, but instead her eyes sparkled and she had a big smile. "You finally touched me." That was a surprise for me. Since Discovery Day, I haven't voluntarily touched her. She took a step toward me. "Can I hug you, please?" "Sure." She practically jumped on me. It felt so familiar, her voluptuous body that strangely fits perfectly between my arms and chest, her perfume and her long wavy hair tickling my nose. I hugged her back and she pleaded, "Let's get back together." I told her, "No, Jane, we are going to divorce." She broke the hug and stared at my face. I guess she thought I was joking, but I wasn't. She didn't take it well. She was sure we were going to reconcile and made a scene in front of my apartment. I tried to calm her down, but she was protesting and yelling. She hugged me tight as if I was about to disappear. She was begging and telling me she has changed. She will make me happy and she would do anything for me. And then the tears started. I felt sad for her. I don't hate Jane. She was my best and only friend for so long and we both have amazing memories together. But she made a big mistake and as a consequence, I fell out of love. I saw a nosy neighbor peeking from his apartment and I guided Jane inside my house. Sammy was curious about her. I didn't have any tea to offer, so I warmed some soy milk while Jane sobbed and petted Sammy. I sat in front of her. The milk helped her to calm down. She asked me, "Do you still love me?" "Just as the good friend you have been to me all these years. Not as a partner, not anymore." She yelled, "Why not?" "I've changed, Jane. I feel different now. I've finished mourning our marriage." She got mad and said I was being cruel. I said I was being realistic. What I said in marriage counseling was my honest truth. I can no longer trust her ever again. And I will never forget her face when I caught her on Discovery Day. She shattered my trust and destroyed my love for her. She hit the table and called herself a stupid bitch and cursed Bird Brain. She admitted she didn't know what she had until she lost it. She took me for granted. Then she made some proposals, like granting her a period of reconciliation, opening our marriage on my side, or being friends with benefits. I told her she was being unreasonable. She asked me what I want from her. I told her I want her to be happy with whoever she chooses, and I will move on and be happy on my own. She asked if there is another woman in my life. I told her not yet, but someday. She covered her face with her hands. Sammy was sitting next to her and put her paw on Jane's leg. I realized it was time to walk Sammy. Jane came with me. She was very quiet, walking by my side. When we were at the dog park, I took Sammy's leash off and she ran, sniffed, and rolled over the dry grass. She loves that. Jane sat next to me and finally spoke. I'll never find love again. Yes, you will. There are a lot of fish in the pond. She told me at her new job, 2 coworkers have asked her out. Both are married. I asked, have you reported them? She said it's not possible because they asked for a friendly outing, and that's very innocent from a human resources point of view. I asked if she was sure about those guys' intentions. She said both have their eyes glued to her chest, so she's sure. She placed a picture of both of us on display as a deterrent. I laughed. She didn't laugh. She said she seriously thinks she'll be alone from now on, only attracting scumbags. She can't have children, and she lost the love of her life. She asked me if I'll marry again. I told her I don't think so. I may not believe in marriage again. I didn't mention I do want to have children. I sent the audio to my lawyer, and days later he told me he didn't find anything showing reconciliation, just useless chit-chat that would be a waste of time if presented as evidence. Besides, it was a smart move to refer to Jane as a third person because it sounds like I'm not talking directly to her. On my birthday, most of my extended family texted me and called to ask how I was. I went to my parents' house. My brother and his wife were already there. Jane showed up with all my in-laws. We all played, ate, and enjoyed a big tasty cake made by my mom. No drama. My mother-in-law was having a good day. She felt confused but enjoyed watching the twins play, even though she forgets they are her grandchildren. It really was a great day. When we cut the cake, I realized I had everything I wanted. My godchildren are still in my life. I forgave Jane and my depression is almost gone. Several other things have happened since then. In mid-December, I dated a single mother who tried to convince me to adopt her annoying child. That was a funny ride. If there is a place where I can post about disastrous dates, I'll tell you about it. One of my tenants wanted me to be her sugar daddy. I got my first tattoo on my shoulder. It's an Aztec eagle warrior, meaning I'm proud of my heritage and my ethnicity. If somebody has a problem with my appearance, I'll just shrug and continue being me. I'm a decent, hardworking person. Aztec eagle warriors used to wear a helmet made from the head of a royal eagle. Royal eagles are a symbol of freedom, honesty, and strength in my country. At the end of December, Jane quit her job because one of the co-workers harassing her was a big shot at the company. Human Resources was gaslighting her, so the smartest move was to quit. I spent Christmas with the twins and her family. She's accepting that we're done, but she's annoyingly friendly to me. In January, I made a Tinder profile. One of the kickboxing guys helped me make my profile. Although I had few likes, I contacted a junior high teacher. She's witty and very funny. We started dating. Sadly, I know it's not going to last. She doesn't want children, she's a gamer, and I consider video games a waste of time. Besides, she wants me to stop practicing kickboxing because it is too violent. As you know, that my divorce was finalized on February 17th. Jane texted me, I know this is not the end for us. Days later, my sister-in-law told me Jane got into the depression stage. She begged me to talk to her because she does listen to me, she stopped working, and is very skinny. She used to sleep most of the day and refused to attend therapy until I talked to her. She wants me to contact her more frequently, but I told her this is precisely what is causing her depression. She has to let me go. That's it. I feel now I'm on the right path. I'm studying a lot to get the promotion which will allow me to travel. I'm still doing great at the gym. I haven't sparred with Abraham again, but guys there ask me to help them. Finally, I got what I wanted, to be amicable with my ex, and I didn't lose my in-laws, whom I still consider my family. My godchildren love me, and I love them as my own children. I couldn't stand the thought of losing them. Because of them, I went through the rabbit hole, I went through the stages of mourning, and I got over Jane. In my country, godparents are responsible for the kids if anything happens to mom and dad. Godparents are the second parents. To all who are mourning a marriage, don't let bitterness get the best of you. There is light at the end of the dark tunnel. It takes time and dedication from you. Maybe not today, not tomorrow, but someday you'll get over all of this. I wish you the best. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, Gamersupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.